Scottish football for decades now has been dominated by both Celtic and Rangers, and no other team really comes close. And I don't know about you guys, but I for one am sick of that. So today I'm going to take charge of Livingston, Scottish football's worst team, as they finish rock bottom of the Premiership. And not only will I make them the best team in Scotland, but I'm going to make them the best team in the world. Now this is the Livingston team we've loaded into in Season 1, and honestly I'm kind of taken back by how good this team is, considering they finished rock bottom of the Premiership. That's not me saying I think they're a good team. They're very, very poor. I mean, their highest rated players are 64 overall, but there are some players we can build this team around. Like right winger Stephen Bradley, only 21 years old, 62 rated. If we get him game time and put him on the right development plan, he could turn into a monster. There's also Stephen Kelly, only 23 years old, 64 overall himself. And there's Bruce Anderson as well, 24, 64 overall. I don't think he's going to become world class, but he'll definitely become one of our better players in the next 2, 3 or 4 seasons. And considering Livingston in the game have got the worst budget in the Scottish Premiership, 2 million isn't that bad at all. Now I have hinted in the fact that there's a lot of work that needs doing to this team before we can call it in a half decent side, but there is a lot of potential to make it happen. But not in their current formation. I feel like it's too restricted. I want to push our attackers further forward with the 4-2-3-1 narrow formation. And we're going to partner this up with the counter-attacking tactical vision. I want to be hitting teams on the break because quite frankly, that's realistically the only way we're going to win games right now. And after meddling around with the team a bit, this is in my opinion our strongest and highest potential starting 11 that we can field right now. And that brings us to that all-important question. What are we going to do with this 2 million? Because quite frankly, the entire team needs it. Well, I was thinking of putting some into our youth academy. We've already got one scout in John Hardy. He's not the best scout in the world, but he'll do for now. But there is this other scout called Arsani Tokarev, 2-star. He won't chew into our budget all that much. I reckon we give this guy a go. And I will be sending him to Scotland for 9 months as well. I really want to try and develop some Scottish talent with Livingston. I feel that is a great way to get Scottish football on the map. As for John Hardy, we're going to send him to Italy for 9 months because honestly, why not? But sending those scouts out made me think about what our youth academy right now has got to offer. And right now, we've got Christian Taylor, a 15-year-old left winger who's got an insane amount of potential. I mean, the rest of these players haven't really got much to offer. I mean, Chase Young looks decent, but he's 49 overall, man. That's terrible. But putting money into our academy was costly. We've got just under 1 million to spend now in Season 1. And I think I'm going to put that money into our midfield because Holt and Shinnie are both 30 and 33 years old. That's where our money is definitely going to be most useful right now. But before we go any further, our captain Shinnie actually came to me asking me what shaver I use. I mean, one of the first things he said to me was actually a compliment on how clean my shave looked, and honestly he's got a point. And luckily for him, ladies and gents, I was able to sort him out. Because this video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the men's global lifestyle brand that is changing the game when it comes to men's grooming. Now lads, if you're after a shaver that's not only going to give you a closer shave but a smoother one at that, then worry no longer because Manscaped have you covered. I'd like to introduce you to the Handyman, which can give you the closer and smoother shave that you're after. It's able to do this because it's the ultimate compact shaver that's designed for precision and convenience. But the game-changing feature it has, ladies and gents, is its advanced dual blade, equipped with a standard foil shaver too as a long hair leveler blade. So lads, you can say goodbye to a patchy beard and hello to a well-groomed appearance. And not only does it feature skin-safe technology, it's also waterproof and has a battery life of up to 60 minutes. And if that's not enough, ladies and gents, then may I recommend my personal favourite Manscaped product, the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose trimmer. Just like the Handyman, it's waterproof and cordless, but it's also equipped with a powerful 7,000 RPM motor and a 360-degree rotary dual blade system, which makes it amazing for tackling those unwanted hairs with ease. And if that's not enough, Manscaped have a whole range of different products, like the Lawnmower 5.0 body hair trimmer, the Beard Hedger beard trimmer, and the Shears 3.0 nail grooming kit. And you can get 20% off your order and free international shipping when you use promo code GOODBEAN at checkout. I'd also like to take this time to thank Manscaped for sponsoring this video. And speaking of the video, let's get back to it. Now, whilst I was telling you about Manscaped, I was looking for a centre midfielder to go into our team, and ladies and gents, I have found the player here, 19-year-old Aiden Denholm from Hearts. He's 61 overall, just about in our price range. Honestly, this is a win-win. And there we go, ladies and gents. Our first transfer as Livingston manager is Aiden Denholm for 600,000. But guys, I have well and truly buggered up. Daniel McKay is not our player. He's actually on loan to us from Hibs. And despite Scottish football only having one league in FC24, we are going to be treating this like it's the new season. Which does mean we are sending Daniel Mackey back home to his parent club, which means we are without a winger. But going through the team, guys, I might have found a solution. Newball is a striker, but he can play as a left winger or a left midfielder. And thankfully, it will literally only take him 2 weeks to become a left winger. So without spending a damn penny, we have sorted our winger situation out. And there's more good news as our first scout report has indeed come back, but our first player is Dario Abate, and he is definitely not good enough to fit into Livingston's team. And Arseny Tokarev hasn't found any decent Scottish players either. And on top of that, Christian fricking Taylor isn't 16 years old yet, man. Are we actually going to get any luck with the youth academy at all in season 1? I mean, I really am hoping our 2 scouts can deliver better than this in the next 8 months, man, because if not, that is just a massive waste of money sending them out in the first place. But there is some decent news at last, because Newball is trained to become a left winger and is going to turn into a 64 overall player. Fantastic. But that means going into season 1, our Livingston team looks like this, and if I'm being completely honest with you, I feel like we're going to get absolutely slaughtered. I mean, we have already lost our very first game of the season, and if I'm being honest, I don't think it mattered what we'd have done this year. We are still going to get annihilated for at least 2 or 3 seasons with Livingston. And to be quite honest, I'm not too fussed about that. The main thing I want to see is massive amounts of improvement. Get the weak links out of the team, replace them with some strong players, and then we can work from there. And honestly, I'm happy to say I've seen a lot more improvement than I thought we would. Look at the state of some of these players now, and what's better, majority of these players are actually in their mid-20s. As for the stats, guys, well, take a look for yourselves. 18-1 for Bruce Anderson, 12-3 for Stephen Bradley, and 12-6 for Joel Newball. I'll be real with you lot, I don't think we've had our backsides handed to us. I think we've actually held our own. And we actually did. We are 7th in the Scottish Premiership in our first season in charge. That's a far cry away from being rock bottom, isn't it? And on top of that, we smashed the second half of the season after topping the bottom group by 2 points. I know it's only the bottom group, but that's a step in the right direction. But we did get knocked out straight away in the Scottish Cup by Hibs, so there is that. But there is more good news, as both of our scouts have been out for the total of 9 months each, and I'm happy to report that they've come back with some ballers. One of which is Scottish fullback Patrick Miller, only 17, currently out on loan right now, but he's 63 rated now. There's also Marco Esposito, an Italian centre-back who's now 62 rated. There's also Duncan Sim, a 16-year-old Scottish striker who's 63 rated. He's going out on loan next year because the deal has already been done. And there's, of course, Christian Taylor, who you guys knew about anyway, 57 rated, the worst out of the bunch as well, which is actually kind of mental to say, but he's also going out on loan just like Duncan Sim next season. But for season 1, guys, we have done far better than I thought we would. In real life, these guys finished rock bottom, and we finished mid-table, then topped the second half of the season. But it's like I said at the start of this year, we got to weed out the weak from the strong. I feel like we've already figured out who the strong players are. Now it's just a case of replacing the weak in season 2. But before we go any further, guys, I need your help. I am currently in a race with this geezer right here, ramming to 100,000 subscribers, and right now I am winning. But in order to actually win this race, I need your help, guys. I need you to like this video if you haven't already, and smash that subscribe button if you're new. It would mean the world to me if you could do this, guys. It's absolutely free, and honestly, if we beat Raman to 100k, I would be over the moon. Now, here we are, guys. We've arrived in season 2 of Livingston, and we've got 3 mil to spend. It's not much, but honestly, I'll take whatever I can get at this point. I mean, we can't exactly sell anybody because we've literally only got 1 reserve, so that 3 million is going to have to go on to not only improving the team, but improving its depth. And one thing I am going to do as well, guys, is bring in a better keeper than Shamal George, because whilst he is 67 overall, it'll take him over 120 weeks to become better. His potential's officially been reached. I will also be after a younger CDM than Holt, and honestly, if I can afford to, I'm going to bring in a better centre-back as well. But I started this transfer window by spending 1.4 million on the dot on Reading CDM Craig. I mean, look at him, guys. He's only 21, 65 rated. We're going to have him for at least 10 years in this squad. I've also got very lucky in the free agents list as I've found Douglas Boyle and also Douglas Christie, who are both 16 and 18 years old, who can both go straight into the team. And with only 3 signings, guys, I feel like this team is coming on leaps and bounds, man. And not only are we improving it, we're bringing the younger Scottish talents into the team. But we still got $2 million to spend, and I would be an absolute fool at this point with Livingston to throw that money down the drain. You better believe I'm spending this on one more player. And that is exactly what I did, as I spent $800,000 on the dot on Charlton Athletic winger Tyrese Campbell. He's only 20, 64 rating, got a market value now at $1.1 million. We've just got a bargain with this dude. Now, granted, Joel Noble is a better player, but he's also 8 years older than Tyrese Campbell, man. I feel like Tyrese Campbell is going to be an absolute baller for us. But I've literally just this second noticed that Patrick Miller, our right back youth academy player on loan to 1860 Munich, is not only better than Brandon but younger. I'm going to bring him back and send Brandon out on loan. And that means this is the starting 11 going into season 2, and I'm very aware that it's still a very poor outfit. However, we are slowly but surely getting there. I mean, we've got all 3 of our youth academy prospects out on loan, and we've just promoted one to the starting 11 already. Not only that, most of our highest rated players are in their mid-20s at best right now. And on top of that, with the signings that we've made with Michael Craig, Tyrese Campbell, Douglas Boyle and Douglas Christie, honestly, I reckon we're in for a very, very successful season 2 of Livingston. And guys, just look at this. We are top 6 with Livingston in only our 2nd year in charge. Livingston board of directors, you know where to find me, lads. And on top of that, we didn't finish rock bottom of the championship group. Honestly, we are doing Livingston bloody proud so far. I mean, we did get knocked out straight away once again in the Scottish Cup, but honestly, at this point, I don't really care about the Scottish Cup. What I care about is developing the team even more, and by the looks of it, we are doing a tremendous job of that so far. We've actually got 370 plus rated players in the team now. That's phenomenal. And on top of that, our loan players are doing a really good job. Look at Duncan Sims, 68 overall at 17 years old. I might have to throw him in the starting 11 next year above our current striker. I mean, granted, he is our top goal contributor, but he's only improved by 1. I definitely feel like maybe it's time for Bruce Anderson to step aside to let someone else take his spot. But so far, I could not be happier with the progress we've made, man. We have turned this Livingston team into a fairly competitive side in Scottish football. But within the next couple of years, I want to be in a title race with Livingston, because as you can see in the first stage of this season, we're nowhere near Rangers points-wise. And honestly, in the championship group, it's embarrassing just how far behind Rangers we actually are. But every season we spent with Livingston, we've made them a better team. And if we can keep this going for another 2, 3 or 4 years, we'll definitely be the best team in Scotland. Now, as we enter the new season, I want to give a couple of our academy players a go in the starting 11, starting with Marco Esposito, who's showing great potential, 66 rated, and honestly, he's one of our better centre-backs. And like I said last year, I want Duncan Sim in that starting 11 from now on. I know that Bruce Anderson is a better player than him right now, but he's a lot older at the same time, so I'm going to loan him out so that Duncan Sim has untampered game time. Well, this leaves us in a pickle, as we've got $4 million to spend, our highest budget yet, but honestly, nowhere to really put it now. I mean, not only is the team's average age about 22 at this point, but they've all got so much potential. It's really hard to figure out who to replace. But we could replace James Penreese with somebody else, because he's 26 and he's 69 overall. And judging by his development plan, it'll take him 54 weeks to become a better fullback. Honestly, I think he's reached his potential. So it makes sense to use this $4 million finding a better left back, and honestly, along the way, see if we can find some more Scottish ballers out there. But my main focus was to find a new left back, and I did just that, as I spent $2.5 million on Jack McKenzie. He's only in his mid-20s and he's 71 overall, a far better player than Penreese. And look at this, I found Jordan Holsgrove in the free agents list, only 25, 74 overall. I was after more Scottish balls, and I think I found one for absolutely nothing. And now, ladies and gents, the team looks like this, and considering the fact we've only been in charge of these guys for 3 years, we've done a phenomenal job. I mean, look at the age of all of our best players, man. Not a single player over 26 years old. We have put Livingston in such a good place. It's just a question now, ladies and gents, of whether these guys can take it up a notch this year and challenge Celtic and Rangers for that title. Unfortunately not, but this time the points difference is nowhere near as big. We are 5th in the league once again, only 24 points behind Celtic as opposed to about 40 or 50. We're in the Championship group, we're still a long way away from them. 35 points to be exact. Celtic just ran away with it this season. But look at this, we made the Scottish Cup final this time where we ultimately fell short to Rangers 3-1, but that is a massive step in the right direction. And I didn't even realise this, we had European football this year with Livingston. We were in Group C alongside FC St Gallen, RC Lens and Lyngby BK, and we actually got through to the prelim round, where we ultimately fell short to Marseille, but fair play, we took them to penalties and they just about beat us. But look at the state of this team, man. What a transformation in only 3 years, and the best thing is, majority of this team are actually Scottish players as well. And as you can tell from the stats, guys, not only are they the best they've ever looked, but Duncan Sim took that chance and rolled with it. 28 goal contributions in 51 games, fair play. But going into Season 4, guys, we've got a situation on our hands because we're going to have about 4 or 5 million to spend and honestly nowhere to really put it. I mean, this team is so young still and got so much potential, it doesn't really make all that much sense to mess around with it. We're going to have a really big think about this in Season 4 and then go from there, because right now I'm stumped. But guys, here we are in Season 4 with Livingston, and I've had me think and I've been incredibly ruthless. I have sold both Jack McKenzie and also Craig for the combined total of 5.1 million. And that gives us 10 million in total, our highest budget yet. Now you might be thinking why I've done this. Well, just let me explain to you why. I sent Denholm out on loan last year to Parma for a couple of years just to make sure that Holsgrove got the game time in the starting 11 I wanted to, but look at Denholm now, 77 overall. So I thought it made sense to sell Craig on because he's a CDM, change our formation to the 4-3-3 attacking variation just to fit him into the team. And just like that, guys, he fits into the team like a glove, and arguably now we've got a stronger team. As for why I sold Jack McKenzie, well, he's 26 now, 72 overall. He wasn't growing all that much, so I thought to just cash in on. And because of that, we are financially the best we've ever looked with Livingston so far. 10 mil in our budget, so we can easily replace McKenzie and also bring in another player if we wanted to. And honestly, I know this may sound harsh, but I might try bringing in a better centre-back than Christie. I really want to keep Esposito in the team because he's an academy player. However, Christie was a free agent. I'm not sure how much he's got left to give. I mean, he is still growing quite well. 25 weeks to become a better player, but honestly, I feel like with the cash we've got to replace him whilst we can. But first things first, we need a new left-back, and I thought that Mario Garcia was absolutely bang on the money for only 3.5 million. He's only 22, 71 overall. I know that he's a weaker player than McKenzie was, but he's much younger, so there's a much better chance that he's got more potential. As for the centre-back, I'm going for Stelios Andrau from West Bromwich Albion. Only 23, 74 overall, and he's worth between 4.9 and 4.15 million, so he's not out of our budget. And that is our fourth transfer window done and dusted. We signed Stelios Andrau for 4.5 mil. And right now, guys, in my opinion, this team is literally the best it's ever looked. Mario Garcia and Stelios Andrau are massive additions to our back four. Our midfield trio is brilliant, and not only is our front three amazing, but it's probably one of the strongest in the Scottish Premiership right now. Honestly, I feel like Season 4 is going to be the turning point for Livingston. I feel like this year we're going to do some serious damage. And guys, we've taken Livingston from being the worst team in Scottish football to the third best. Look at this, man, only 11 points behind Celtic in the regular season. I mean, granted, that points difference does increase to 21 in the Championship group, but we are still getting closer. But we are still pants in the Scottish Cup, guys. Hearts have annihilated us 4-1. But we were once again in the Europa Conference League in Group C alongside Fenerbahce, Copenhagen and SCR Altak, but unfortunately we finished rock bottom. But right now, I couldn't really care less about how we do in Europe. All I care about is the development of Livingston, and right now, guys, I think the team's the best it's ever looked. I mean, we've got our first 80 overall player in Duncan Sim. Denholm is now 79 overall, Cali 78, Miller 77 alongside Andrau. We are coming on leaps and bounds every single year without fail. And look at Duncan Sim go, man. 27 goals, 2 assists and 46 games on. What a striker. I am slightly gutted about Bradley though. He started off so well for us, but now his growth has really stunted and it might be time to replace him. And honestly, the same goes for Boyle. He's only 21, granted, but he's 74 overall, and right now he is the weakest link in the team. And to be fair guys, with us playing in the Conference League and us finishing 3rd in the Championship group and the regular season, we might be looking at our highest budget yet without even selling any players. But unfortunately, I was sorely mistaken. We've got 6 million to spend. Honestly, Livingston's board of directors, you gotta back me up at some point, lads. Don't get me wrong, we could sell 1 or 2 players and get a lot of goddamn money, but right now, I feel like if we sold any of these players, we'd just be doing a disservice to ourselves because these are our best players. But we could sell Stephen Bradley. He is a player we want to replace anyway, and he's worth 4.5 million, meaning we'll get about 5 to 6 mil for him. And honestly, if we do want to take Livingston to that next level, we need that extra money to bring in a better right winger than Bradley and also a stronger keeper than Boyle. And just like that, guys, we've got him a move to Sunderland. And alongside tournament money, we've got 15 million to spend now with the sale of Stephen Bradley. That's a lot of money. I mean, we've got no issues now sorting out our right winger problem and also bringing in a stronger keeper than Boyle. But first things first, we do need a better keeper, and Ewan Jowen from Everton is the right call in my opinion for 10 million. I've defo just butchered his name, but he's only 21, 77 rating, and he's showing great potential. Honestly, we've got a bargain with this guy. And without spending a penny, I found our right winger for the next couple of years. David Brooks, 30 years old, 76 rated. I reckon he'll defo do a job in the Scottish Premiership. And as we enter our 5th year in the Scottish Premiership, this is how the team looks. And honestly, I reckon this may be the year we get 2nd place. But I'm also hoping it's the year we do much better in Europe, as we are in Group D of the Conference League alongside Trabzonspor, Wolfsburger AC, and a team whose name I'm not even going to try and pronounce. But like I've said guys, we've now spent 5 years in charge of this team, and honestly at this point I reckon it could do a job in the Premier League. Especially now that we've got a very strong keeper in Ewan Jowen in between the sticks. Honestly, Season 5 may just be our best yet. Unfortunately, we still can't quite topple Rangers and Celtic as we finished 3rd in the first stage of the season. But would you look at this, we've topped the Championship group on goal difference, and if I'm not mistaken, that gives us qualification to the Champions League. Like I said guys, our best season yet, and I wasn't bloody wrong, was I? And look at this, we've beaten Celtic to win the Scottish Cup. We are finally starting to become the best team in Scotland. As for how we did in Europe, we made it to the round of 16 before getting annihilated by Rangers, but honestly, I don't care. We got the better of them in Scotland. But honestly, at this point, I'm really not surprised because this team is genuinely phenomenal at this point. And look at these stats, man. Tyrese Campbell with 13 and 18, 15 and 7 for Stephen Kelly, and 34 goal contributions and 50 games for Duncan Sim. What a goddamn striker. My only slight concern going into Season 6 is how much money we're going to have to work with, because the board of directors aren't exactly keen on giving us a lot of money, are they? And that leads us to the big question. Do we sell Duncan Sim if that's the case? Because we'll have well over 180 million to spend, and honestly, I feel like that's a lot of money that we just can't turn down. Especially when we know if we did make that sale, the money that we could put into the team could definitely make Livingston not only the best team in Scotland, but probably one of the strongest teams in Europe. But whether that's the case or whether it isn't the case, one thing's for certain, Celtic and Rangers are no longer the top dogs in Scottish football, because we are now. The board are fully mugging me off, aren't they? 10 million is all you've got to give me when we just won the second part of the league, won the Scottish Cup, and also made it to the round of 16 in the Europa Conference League. Are you taking the mick? At least that settled one thing. We've got to sell Duncan Sim. I really don't want to, because he's one of the best strikers in the world in my opinion at this point, but if we are to do well in the Champions League, we've got to do this. And it legit only took 5 days for a team to come in for him, and look who has Real Madrid for 168.8 million, but that's not the mental thing. Our assistant manager reckons we could get upwards of 231.7 million for him. Now, I'm not being funny. 168 mil is one thing, but over 200 mil is another. We could do so much damage with that kind of money. So you better believe I'm going to try and get about 200 million, man. It's Real Madrid, for God's sake. Why not? So let's start with 220 million. They reckon it's about 230 we could get, but 220... Wow, they ain't even budging. Okay, this may be a little bit more tricky than I thought. It might be Real Madrid, but one thing I'll give them, they're bloody smart with their money. Instead, we're going to go 200 million. Oh my god, they're not even budging for 168. Okay, my final offer, 185 mil on the dot. The tension meter is at its last point, so it's this or nothing. He is fully walked out, man. You cheap son of a gun. You're literally Real Madrid's manager and you've just bought Kylian Mbappe. Surely you can spare another 200 million. But despite Madrid not wanting to fork out a lot of money for our striker, we did find a club who did want to. Duncan Sim has gone to AS Monaco for 176.4 million. And this now gives us 172 million in total to spend in Season 6. Ladies and gents, we're about to turn Livingston into an absolute monster. Now, firstly, to replace Duncan Sim, I opted for Brazilian striker David Washington, who we spent 38 million on. He's only 23, 81 overall with a bag of potential. Honestly, I reckon he's going to kill it in the Scottish Premiership and in Europe too. I also just spent 29 million on a right winger who I've been dying to sign from Season 1. And you may have guessed it would be Ben Doak, only 22, 81 overall. I'm really hoping he's going to be our endgame right winger. And this still leaves us 101 million to spend. Ladies and gents, I reckon we go big with our final two transfers. So I'm going to go for fullback Ian Matson. His contract's running out, which is always a good thing, but he's 26 and 85 rated. He's going to take us to that next level. And following him is Lucas Bergvall, the Swedish centre midfielder who's only 22, 81 overall. You guys rave about him in the comments, so I want to see what the fuss is about. And that officially wraps up our transfer window. As for the combined total of 83.1 million, we signed both of these players on 4-year deals. And I'll be real with you lot, I feel like selling Duncan Sim was the right move because the state of this team now going into Season 6 is absolutely phenomenal. We can do some serious damage in Europe if we play well. But Jesus, have you seen our group stage, man? Bayern Munich, Atletico Bilbao and Dynamo Kiev. Group D, yeah, you're damn right, the group of goddamn death. But the good news is we've had a very strong start to the season. 5 games played, undefeated, second in the league behind Celtic. But something tells me that's not going to last like that for much longer because I believe we have got the best team in Scotland. And if we win the title once again, I'll just be proven right. But oh my god, I have been humbled and then some. Celtic have dominated the Premiership this year. How the hell have they pulled that off? We did pull it back in the Championship group, but Jesus, Celtic 24 points clear top of the table, man. We've got to be doing better than that. They also went on to win the bloody Scottish Cup. As for the UCL, we did indeed get grouped. It was to be expected, to be honest. However, we are in the Europa League. But PSV just about beat us in the prelim round, which means we're out. And it's at this point I can't help but feel like we have massively underperformed because this team should not only be dominating the Scottish Premier League, but we should be doing way better against a team like PSV. And these stats actually reflect the season. 17-2 for Washington, 13-11 for Tyrese Campbell, 9-3 for Bergvall, and 8-4 for Davy Brooks. The worst thing is we're going to get no money to spend next season, which means if we are to actually make the team better, we're going to have to probably sacrifice 1 or 2 of our highest rated players. And that means either selling Miller or 3 of our best players who we've only just brought in this year, which I'm really not prepared to do yet. And the worst thing is, all we need is a better centre mid than Denholm and a better centre back than Andrew, and this team is probably alright to be left alone. It's just then a case of improving the depth we've got. But one thing's for certain, from next year onwards, every year we absolutely have to be winning the Scottish Premier League, man. Finishing second just isn't good enough. But as we go into Season 7, I'm pleasantly surprised by how much money we've actually been given. 29 million to be exact. I mean, it's nowhere near enough, but it's definitely the best amount of money we've been given so far. And the way I see it, we've got a choice to make. We could either sell our centre mid Denholm to get a better midfielder, or sell our centre back Andrew to get a better centre back. We would get decent money for both as well. Denholm's worth 24 million, Andrew's worth 21 million, but for me, I think we get a better centre back because having a better defence is more important than having a better midfield. And there he goes, ladies and gents. He's being sold to West Ham United for just over 28 million. And with additional tournament money, we've now got 56 million in total to bring in an absolutely quality centre back. And ladies and gents, I definitely brought a quality centre-back as I spent 39.3 million on Levi Colwill. He's 26, 83 overall, got a ton of potential. Honestly, I think he's going to change the game for Livingston. But here's the crazy thing, we've got 14 mil left in our budget. And I think if we sell Aiden Denholm for a decent amount of money, we can definitely afford to bring in a much better centre midfielder than. And guys, I'm not joking you, we got an amazing deal for him. 33.3 million we've just been able to sell him for. And this now gives us just over 40 million to bring in a centre midfielder. And ladies and gents, I have found the perfect player for the job. Nico Paz, ladies and gents, the Argentinian centre mid from Wolfsburg, is in his mid-20s, 83 overall. This is just common sense. And that concludes our transfer window as for 35.3 million, he's signed for us on a 4-year deal. And just look at the team now, man. 7 years it's taken us to get to this point, but it's been worth every single second. Especially now that we are once again in the Champions League in Group H this time alongside Chelsea, Sevilla and Copenhagen. But we haven't had the strongest of starts in the league. 5 games played, 2 wins, 2 draws and 1 loss. But honestly, with the team this strong now, if we don't win the Scottish Premiership and at least make it to the round of 16 in the Champions League, I do not know what more we've got to do to actually make it happen. I'm on the verge of giving up, guys. How are Celtic still beating us in the Premiership? I mean, we're levels above Rangers at this point. We just can't get the better of Celtic. And it's the same story in the Championship group. 5 points behind them. I do not understand at this point how they're doing this. We've legitimately got one of the strongest teams in Europe at this point, surely. They've even somehow beat us to win the Scottish Cup. Honestly, can someone explain to me how this is happening? As for the UCL, we have once again been sent to the Europa League. Can we get an easy group next year, man? I'm sick and tired of being put into the group of death. But once again, we get knocked out to the prelim round, this time by Real Betis, another team that we should be battering on paper. But then again, Washington has been injured, but then again, in the same breath, we have got the quality in this team to do it without him, so that's no excuse. But look at his stats, 36 goals in 47 games. Honestly, fair play, what a season he's had. But I'm thinking from next year, we don't play counter-attack anymore. We either go for gegenpress, tiki-taka, or wing play, because right now, we got a team that does not need to counter-attack anymore. But at this point, I am legitimately running out of ideas on how to become better than Celtic. We should be there right now. I don't understand why we're not. Maybe it's the tactics, maybe it's the lack of quality in our bench, but one way or another, next year we have to fix it. And we do have a decent amount of money to fix this. 45 million to be exact. And I do think I was onto something last year. Our depth needs working on. We need a better striker than Anderson, a better cam, and also a better centre-back, because quite frankly, we haven't got any decent ones. I've also gone for the gegenpressing tactics. I feel like the team's outgrown the counter-attacking tactical vision. It's now time to go forward and attack our opposition. As for our transfers, the first one is going to be Tom Cannon, who's from Leicester City. He's 27, 77 overall. He'll do a job on the bench as our second choice striker. And following him is Chelsea youngster Alfie Gilchrist, 26, 77 overall. Not the best player in the world, but he'll be decent for squad depth. And finally, Leicester City attacking midfielder Will Alves will be joining us in his mid-20s as well, 77 overall. He's a decent looking player, to be fair. And for the total sum amount of 29 million on the dot, we signed all 3 of these players and hopefully sorted our depth problem. I mean, I think we have to be perfectly honest, because the bench now is the best it's ever looked. And it's a good job as we are once again in the UCL, this time in Group G alongside Lazio, PSV and Dynamo Kiev, and finally we've actually got a nice group. And this start is much more like it. We are sitting top of the table by 3 points. Ladies and gents, I've done all I can. We've changed the tactics from countering to actually pressing. We've sorted the depth situation out on the bench. Honestly, I do not know what more we need to do. Let's put it this way. If we aren't the best team in Scotland by the end of this season, I officially give up with Livingston. But thankfully, I'm not giving up anytime soon. We have topped the Premiership by 2 points. Have that, Celtic. It's about damn time. And on top of that, we've won the Championship group by 7 points in the end. We are officially, at long last, the best team in Scotland. I mean, all it took was for me to realise that counter-attacking just doesn't work sometimes, but you know what? We got there in the end. And this proves it, as we've won the Scottish Cup, beating Kilmarnock to do it as well. And we have finally made it out to the group stage in the Champions League. 15 points on the board. We cruise to the round of 16. And that is where we absolutely demolished the Bottle Jobs 5-1. We've beaten Lazio fact, here in the quarters 3-1 as well, we could be playing United, Bayern, or Juve. We got Bayern, and we've just about beaten them in the semis 6-5 on aggregate. We're playing United in the final. I cannot believe all we had to do this entire time was go from counter-attack to gegenpress, and we'd have done better. That just shows you how important the tactics are. And just look at these stats, man. 38-2 for Washington, 18-2 for Bendo, 17-12 for Nico Paz, 17-15 for Bergville, and 16-14 for Tyrese Campbell. What a team we've got, man. From the worst team in Scotland to the best team in Scotland to possibly the best team in the world if this game goes our way. And we've done this with youth academy players, Scottish core players, and also just world-class players from around the world. But will they be enough to get past this Manchester United team? Honestly, I think we're going to wipe the absolute floor with them. That defense is weak as hell. Washington is going to have a field day against that back four. But it's okay, me bigging the boys up. They have got to do it on the pitch. Bergville is suspended. Will that make a difference? No, it won't. We've finally done it with Livingston. Ian Matson and Washington with the goals. Livingston have gone from the worst team in Scotland to the best team in Scotland to the best team in the world. Oh my god, I'm so happy, man. I have been sat in this chair for hours rebuilding Livingston, but we've finally done it, man. We have finally made the worst team in Scotland the best team in the world. And that means my mission with Livingston is done and dusted. If you have enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like, smash that subscribe button if you're new around here. We are racing Raman to 100k, and with your help, we can definitely win this race. And if you are still here, you should click this video right here, because just like this video, that's a banger as well.